Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Interworld podcast, where we explore the intersection of personal and collective transformation. My name is Yasha S. Wagner, and I'm a PhD researcher in the field of psychology, well-being, and spirituality, as well as a founder of the Interworld Institute for Inner World Peace. You can learn more about our nonprofit initiatives by going to interworld.org. So today is a special and unusual episode. It's many firsts. This is our first time doing in-person live recording. So I am here today with my new friend and very impressive Aboriginal elder named Lewis Burns. Lewis.
G'day.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So Lewis is globally renowned artist. Actually, all of the traditional Aboriginal paintings that you see hung up, Lewis makes by hand. In fact, I've had the great privilege of seeing Lewis develop this one that's right above my head since getting here. So Lewis is doing an artist residency at our Eco Village here at the Interworld Eco Village near Colorado Springs this week, and we're going on a tour around Colorado and New Mexico this weekend. And in addition to being a very incredible, well-developed visual artist, Lewis is also a didgeridoo player, a masterful didgeridoo expert and performer and presenter. So we'll have the pleasure of hearing Lewis's traditional Australian didgeridoo music today as well. So it's quite a special episode, and we might even turn it into like part of an online course. So you're getting access to some high quality material this time. And yeah, as a Indigenous elder, Lewis Burns is a speaker, a teacher, and will be sharing about his Aboriginal Australian traditions that he represents and has been traveling all over the world and sharing about it for over 40 years. So really a special opportunity to be with an Indigenous elder in person for this episode and get some extra valuable downloads of knowledge and insight and creativity. So thank you all for joining. Lewis, how are you feeling today?
Well, I'm pretty good. That's quite an invitation. What do you call it?
Introduction?
Introduction, yeah. So, but I suppose it's all true. I'm feeling pretty good. I feel as though only yesterday I finally got into line with Australia American time. So
yeah,
started waking up before 10.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's the time difference? Do you know with Australia?
I think it's about from here to home. It's about I go back 8 hours and a day forward.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're not up yet at home.
Yeah.
A bit early.
Yeah. Wild. So yeah, that's a good point. Not only have you been sharing all of these practices and artistic traditional Aboriginal practices for a long time, but you're also here from all the way on the other side of the planet to visit us in the States, which is another great opportunity. So
yeah, I get to do it roughly once a year, but it's always try to add other performances to it.
Yeah. Well, so shout out to our friend AJ and our friends AJ Block and Jerry Walsh over at Didge Project, because they connected us with you. And
thanks to them fellows. Thanks AJ and Jerry.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, so Didge Project is great, and they actually just told us about the fact that you'll be here now very last minute. So next year, I think we can do some more collaborations.
Yeah, well, now that we know each other and we're, getting to know each other and understanding each other's ways, and we could plan a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because you wasn't sure if I said I was coming, but you wasn't sure. People do that. They say they come and they don't come.
Yeah.
But when you asked me, was I committed? And I said, yes, I'm committed. I think then that was when we started to work on it.
Yeah, and now you're here, so I'm really, really honored to be able to form a connection with you. And I also think that we'll start touring and traveling and doing events in other parts of the world. So maybe we can bring people someday to meet you and your tribal lands in Australia.
Yeah.
And
Well, we got the land.
yeah, yeah. So we'll talk more about that. And next time that you come back in the future years, we can reach out to some institutions and plan a bigger tour ahead of time. So let's introduce our listeners to your ancestry, your origin story, your upbringing. I think it would be really great to hear more about where you come from and how you ended up doing the work in the world that you do today. Any big highlights from your journey?
Okay, so where I come from, Dubbo sits in the Wiradjuri tribal area, and Dubbo is the town where I come from, but we weren't allowed to be in Dubbo because at the time when I was born, we weren't free people. We were still living in missions run by missionaries. So I was born at the junction of the Talbragar and the Macquarie River in Dubbo, and if you can find that junction, then you can pretty much pinpoint where I come from. Mum and Dad had 7 of us out on the Macquarie River, and I have vivid memories of growing up out on the reserve. The funny thing is that there was one of these set up every 100 kilometres or 200 kilometres or so, and everyone within a certain amount of distance was put into that compound, and then they put a missionary in there from the church that would stop the children learning the language, stop the adults from teaching the language, force them English into them, and then force Christianity into them. So that's why they were called missions, because they were missionaries from the Christians, changing, trying to just ruin the culture, and well, they just wanted everybody to forget the culture, and so that's the mission that I come from. That was called the Talbragar Reserve, and that was gazetted in 1888, and that's when they got all our mob, which was my grandmother and her family, and put it onto the reserve. And then my grandmother was about 6 years old when that happened, but she got married at the age of 17 to another Aboriginal person from like Molong. It was about 100 kilometres away, and when they got married, it was 1911, and so that was sort of like, that's how the name Burns came into the tribe. And then when my grandmother, she was a tailor, or her traditional name was Dun Dun, which meant little frog, but they had to give her people had to have last names now because you had to get recorded. So everyone had to have the first and last name, so they gave the name Taylor. And so a lot of the tailors that were born in the Dubbo area are traditional owners, and a lot of the people that they married. So we have 4 apical ancestors, and an apical ancestor is the traditional owner that they go back to. And one of our apical ancestors was Jane Amy, and that's the one that my bloodline comes under. So that was my grandmother's mother. And then the other 3 were people from the same area. 2 of them was sort of like in the same bloodline, another one was in a different bloodline, and that was a Bilang Wari, who was the king of the high banks of the Macquarie River when they first colonised Dubbo. And Bilang Wari had a daughter named Maddie Wari, and she married a bloke from England. And you can read books about this fella. He came from England, and he married Maddie Wari, and they had a lot of kids. A lot of the kids were very dark, and the bloke that come from England, his name was George Smith. And so the Smith bloodline is in our apical ancestor as well, because that was one of the other apicals. And when George Smith married Maddie Wari, he claimed to be the illegitimate son of the king, but he was sent to Australia for a small crime. Anyway, he ended up marrying her, and he ended up taking up land in Dubbo and owned hundreds and hundreds of acres. And we're not sure what happened to all that. But anyway, that gives us a bit of a history on the Aboriginal heritage of Dubbo, because my mob were all there as well. My grandmother, my grandfather, and all of the people that come from granny and grandfather. It's like they had started having kids. They had about 13 kids, and then their youngest was my father. So my grandfather was born in 1887, which is a long time ago, and Dad was born in 1935. So he was born when his parents were pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
But we all grew up out on the reserve. That's all we knew until probably 6 or 7 years old for me, and I'm the sixth out of seven. So what I remember, my older brothers and sisters remember much more of living out on the reserve. But the memories are all good, and there's no bad memories from living out there. We always got on. Everybody. It was like we had our own little community out of the way of all the people that didn't like us, which is where they wanted us anyway, because it was a flood-prone area, what they gazetted as the reserve, and that's what the colonisers did. They picked all the areas of land that they didn't want for agriculture. That's where we put the reserves, and that's where all the Aboriginal people were moved to. We lived there for probably 120 years. Our mob lived there, and then they said, "Oh, we can't live there anymore because it's flood prone." we know it's flood prone. When the water comes up, we walk away. But just excuses, because you can't live there. We need an excuse, so they said flood prone, but it wasn't the right excuse, because then wasn't long after that, Dubbo Council went and built an information centre in town near the river, and they put it on a bank of dirt. They had to put a pile of dirt down that high first, and it wasn't high enough. The next flood went through the information centre. That's after telling us we couldn't live on the reserve because it was flood prone. And they went and built that. Anyway, a lot of history in Dubbo. I could keep raving on forever. I could talk about one subject for too long.
No, that's great. Thank you for telling us. So just to be clear for people and those of us less familiar with some of the Australian terminology, so you're saying when you say gazetted, you mean closed in, like
no, gazetted means it was recognised by the government and put in a book and recorded for historical reasons.
Okay, so it's a formal reserve, like what in the United States they're usually called reservations.
It was a reservation or reserve.
For sure. Yeah. And then your mob, your tribe, your whole kind of clan, I guess, or
our family group or our skin group.
Yeah.
Along with a few other people that got the native title, but our skin group lived on Talbragar Reserve.
Yeah.
But some of the other apicals, or especially Billangwari, he didn't. He lived further closer to town. So, because they called him they nicknamed him the King of the High Banks, and that was the other side of the river. Because whenever the water come up, it'd come our way. And but they believe that he might have been born about 100 kilometres away on the other direction in Gilgandra, but still, he's still an apical ancestor for the traditional owners of Dubbo. Yeah, so it's like two mobs, two family groups.
Okay, so I think I do want to unpack some of the terminology, understand the family groups and all of that, but just to start, so Dubbo comes from the word Tubba.
Yeah, and Tabagar is the local tribe that we're in. We're the Tabagar people, which Tubba means red ochre, and Gar means people, so we're the red ochre people, Tabagar Wiradjuri. We're the red ochre people of the Wiradjuri nation, and it's only on the tip of the Wiradjuri.
And the Wiradjuri is...
It's a really big area. I can't even explain it if I had a map of Australia or New South Wales, but It's a big, if you just put a big hole in New South Wales in the middle of it, doesn't have to be round, to be jagged, and it goes into Victoria a bit, that's roughly Wiradjuri area.
Okay.
And it's the biggest tribal area in Australia. Well, there are tribal areas that might be a bit bigger, but nobody in there. So we're talking the most populated tribal area because of the rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Wiradjuri, can you remind me? You were trying to remember approximately what it might mean. And
I think it means plenty of rivers.
Plenty of rivers.
That's what I've been told. Some people think it means that it's a certain amount of rivers, but I'm not sure.
Right.
There's a lot of rivers and creeks and that sort of thing, but they've narrowed it down to 3 main rivers that cover Wiradjuri. It's the Lachlan, the Macquarie, and I can't remember.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
the Talbragar River is in there as well, which is on our
your river, the river that runs through your traditional lands, is the Tabaga River.
Yeah, but that's the small river that runs into the Wamble, which is the Macquarie River, the main river. So the main river, and then we have a small river that runs past it. And actually, when you look from above, the block of land where the 2 rivers run into each other, and I often draw this in paintings, it actually looks like a bird from above. The 2 rivers like mark out the shape of a bird. That was something that was taught to me about 10 years ago.
That's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Didn't really look at it a lot from that far above before.
Yeah. So I want to understand what skin groups means. So Tabaga Wiradjuri is the nation. So it's an entire region of the land, and all the different clans that live in that region are part of the larger nation called Wiradjuri.
So we got Wiradjuri.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Tasmania. And then as you travel around, you come to tribal areas with smaller clan groups. A clan group or tribal area even is different. So Tabaga is a tribal area, the Red Oak people of the Wiradjuri Nation, but some of them might have been different bloodlines. So that's when you come down, the bloodlines are those skin groups. So if you sort of like DNA, skin, DNA, so same skin, same DNA, and then they have skin groups to prevent people marrying back in too soon, if you know what I mean. So you've got to wait till it's like a third cousin or something.
Right.
Because you can have, the problems of having kids with you.
Right. Genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I know the same thing exists in many different cultures, but that, it's like this old practice of having within the Wiradjuri Nation these clan groups, like you said, and then within that the skin groups are the bloodlines, and those are the family houses that you don't marry within.
Yeah. It's just like you've got to follow your elders. They give you the advice on who you can and can't mix with.
Yeah.
And that got jumbled up with all of when they come and got everybody and when they rounded everyone up and put them in a mission, and most of them were fenced in, and you had to, not at first, in the beginning of the century, but towards the end of it all, you still had to have a piece of paper to say you was an honorary white person to come into town and go to the shop. And even then, the shopkeeper had the discretionary power to kick you out or serve you. And I still see it today. We go into a shop and people, they'll just pretend they can't see you. And someone will walk in and they'll go, "You right?" And you got to go, "Oh, I was here. Oh, didn't see you there." But it still happens today. You just get used to it. We should do some, little tests and video some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just to somehow figure it out, because people just don't believe it happens today.
Yeah.
And my best mate that I met when I was at school, he's dead now. He died 6 years ago, bless him. But he married my sister, and until he went out with her, he didn't see the racism. And as soon as he went out with her, he started seeing it, because she was dark as me. And he's like, they're getting kicked out, or they're getting sit somewhere they don't want, or they're not getting served yet, or we don't have what you need. You've had too much to drink. That's a good one when you haven't even had a drink. That's a good excuse. got to get out, you get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you get used to all that stuff. And I digressed again. I don't even know how we started.
Yeah. No, that's all right. So let's go ahead and get into a little bit more recent. So you said you grew up there on the river together in the reserve, and it was a good time.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
was five. I was 5 year old.
Uh-huh.
I think I might have been 6 when we moved into town.
Yeah.
But that didn't change the schools that we were going to or anything.
Yeah. And then let's start to. We'll come back around to your story and your work in the world here soon. But let's start to transition into some topics that might be particularly interesting for people in general. So maybe we can start with the topic of dream time, what that means, and I know it's a term that people may be familiar with from the Aboriginal Australian traditions. So can you illuminate that for us?
Yeah, and I get this question a lot within Australia from non-Aboriginal people. And Dreamtime basically is the days of creation. It's when everything was coming together. You could call the Big Bang the Dreamtime
Uh-huh.
if you wanted to match it to something. Yeah, basically the Dreamtime is the days of creation. Any story that talks about the creation of anything, for instance, I'll tell a Gurialda story. Gurialda is a giant snake. I haven't got any paintings of it, but giant snake the size of a mountain range and was sent down by our spirit god to shape the land at the beginning of time. And in his movements across the land, pushed up dirt that made mountains and hills, left tracks that made valleys and rivers that went underground to make caves and aquifers. And if you feel a tremor today, it could be what Gurialda still moving underground. And when it rains in the distance, you can see him coming out the ground and going back into the ground. Some people call that a rainbow. And that's how Gurialda got the nickname Rainbow Serpent or Rainbow Snake.
So that's an example of a Dreamtime story about the rainbow serpent.
Yeah, that's how the land became shaped.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, and then there's many other stories about how something came to be, or why the emu lost its wings, and a lot of other stories like that.
Who lost its wings?
The emu.
Emu, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us that one?
No, I don't know it properly.
Yeah.
I'd rather tell stories that I know from start to back. But then on here I have to digress.
Yeah.
Not digress, but shorten it down.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'm raving on for too long.
Yeah, no, that's all right. These stories are great. We love stories. While we're here, just for simplicity, do you want to share maybe one more story with us? That's a Dreamtime story.
Yeah, I'll do. Well, there's the. I'll tell you a story. This one's about Gaga the duck, and now this took place way out west, 10 hours from Sydney by car, but over the mountains and way out west where it's flat. In Brewarrina, there's a mob of ducks, and they was enjoying life, having fun and swimming around and just enjoying life in general. And one of the ducks was named Gaga. She was one of the young ducks. And Gaga she was a beautiful duck, and from across the river, the water rat was taken fond of her, and he just couldn't stop looking at her, and he used to look at her all the time. And one day he just said, I want to keep her for my own, so maybe I can take her home and she might like it or something. So he decided he's going to swim over, and he swam over and he grabbed her legs and took her, and she was gone. And all the other duck people, they was like, where's Gaga? We don't know what's happened with Gaga. And they never found her for a couple of days, so they had a ceremony for the loss of Gaga. But after a little while, everything went back to normal, and Gaga's trapped at the duck camp. And she's trying to figure out a way to escape. So she pretends to like it at the camp. She says, yeah, I'll just get involved and do things around the camp and tell him, say nice things and smile and everything. And maybe one day when he leaves the camp, he won't leave me tied up. So she practices that, and then eventually he thinks, oh, well, she seems to like it here. She's getting involved and doing things around camp, knows where everything is and starting to, look after stuff. He says, I don't think I'm going to need to tie her up anymore. So he finally one day he leaves the camp and he leaves her untied, and that's her chance. She sees that as her opportunity, and away she goes through the bush running, flat out, as fast as she can. And she thinks she could hear noises behind her, which was scaring her, but when she looked back, it wasn't the water rat. He wasn't following her. She hit the water and she was swimming as fast as she could back to her people. And she made it back, and they went, oh, what are you, Gagar's back? And they had this big, we were worried, we thought you were dead. And they ended up having this big celebration about the return of Gagar, and they had a big celebration of Gagar's back, she's not dead, and now, and everything started going back to normal. Egg laying season come for the ducks, and they all had to lay their eggs. Gagar's eggs, she laid them, and they hatched. And the duck elders, they said, your babies are deformed, you'll have to kill them. And she said, no, don't kill my babies, I love them, and I love them, doesn't matter what they look like. So they said, well, you need to take them babies far as you can upstream and never come back. So she started swimming upstream, went through Dubbo, Wellington, Bathurst, getting up towards Lithgow, and the water's getting colder, see? And Gagar doesn't like the water, but the babies swimming around, they just loved it. Anyway, she ended up dying, but the babies, they still live up there, and if you're lucky, when you come to Australia, you can see them. They've got fur of a rat, clawed feet, but webbed, a beak like a duck, and that's how we got our first platypus.
The platypus.
Yeah, that's it. We call it daru.
Daru.
Yeah, I don't know where the platypus came from, that word. I think it's an English word.
Mm-hmm. So this is a painting of the daru.
Yep,
the platypus.
Daru.
And that story tells...
Yeah, it's moving him around, but also shows what he eats too down in this corner, the crayfish that live on the bottom of the rivers. That keeps them going. Usually they'll just, because they use their snout, they use the front of their beak when they're going around, that just rubs on the bottom of the thing, and then they suck up whatever they can find that's food. And the yabbies are all there, so they usually end up with the belly full of yabbies. But they're pretty fun. You just don't want to be picking up any females, because behind their back legs and between their back leg and their tail, there's a bit that just tries to grab you if you get, and they're sharp.
Yeah,
they're sharp and they're poisonous. So as much as they're cute and everything, don't go patting them or trying to. Not many people can get that close to them anyway. You got to be lucky to see a platypus or a daru.
Yeah, good to know. Wow, very cool. So that's an example of a Dreamtime story because it's explaining the original creation of something.
In the days of creation, that's how the platypus came to be.
Yeah. What about the walkabout? I don't know if that's the right term, but I've heard of these tribal initiations, like a rite of passage into adulthood or something like this among the Aboriginal.
And it can be a little bit different everywhere you go. Remembering there's roughly 900 tribes in Australia before colonisation, and everyone had like similar ways, but also different. They might have had same words or similar story for something, but then there's one story that everybody understands, and there's other little tribal stories that belong to the part of the land that they come from. I forgot the question.
About the walkabout.
Well, if we need initiation, sometimes it's part of initiation, or you might be just going on a walkabout to pass on knowledge. So you might be given a message stick which has got messages carved into it, and that's your passport to get across the other tribal areas. If you don't have a message stick, which we call it the runka, your passport, then you're trespassing, and there's no reason for you to be there. So when you got your message stick, that tells all the tribal people why you're out of your country. And usually it's to bring pass a message on that we're having a corroboree or something, invite to a feast, something like that. Or it could be messaging them about, it could be telling the neighbouring tribes about someone that's been exiled, and if you spot them, they're not supposed to come out of the boundary, because the boundaries are pretty wide, our boundaries. Like, tribal areas might be, some of them might be small, but the boundaries are always at least a mile or a couple of miles wide.
Yeah.
Because when you exile people, you can't exile them onto someone else's country.
Right.
You can only exile them onto the borders.
Right.
And that's punishment for... It's like being locked up, not jail.
Yeah. And so you were saying to me yesterday that that's like a fourth category of the different types of Aboriginal people and lands, is that there's the nations like Wiradjuri, there's the clans, and the bloodlines like the Tabaga, skin groups. But then there's also like the in-between people that are exiles and they live like in between the different nations.
So they're just people that they're in trouble.
Yeah.
That live in the borders.
Yeah.
They're called no man's land, but I don't remember the traditional name for the borders. But they were put in there for it could be a certain amount of months or whatever to live out a punishment, and that's could be walkabout as well.
Yeah.
Because you're on your own.
Yeah.
And you're fending for yourself. But usually walkabout, when they talk about walkabout, it's part of initiation. You got to survive a certain amount of time and go a certain distance and pick something up and bring it back or something like that. So there's many different ways that are involved in walkabout.
So that's like a rite of passage into adulthood in some way?
Sometimes it is, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like leaving on your own into the wilderness with nothing and wandering about on a particular mission to receive some sort of...
No, you got to prove that you can go and
survive.
Provide yourself with tools and get the stuff you need, do all the things you need that you've learned growing up, that you could teach it. If you could teach it, then you know enough.
Interesting. Okay, so we've talked about Dreamtime, we've talked about the Walkabout. Let's get into the didgeridoo. Before you play it, can you share with us anything about the didge and where that comes from, what that's all about?
Well, the didgeridoo, it's not even from my tribal area traditionally, but it's been adopted by many tribal areas because of the... it's a good way to get people interested in your culture from overseas. And it's a good way to promote Aboriginal culture because a lot of people think it's just one type of art and one type of song, but they don't realise that there's still 500 countries left and there's 500 languages, 500 different ways to do painting and art and dance and play the didge, where this is traditionally from Arnhem Land and Central Desert, depending on where. And it was something that was adopted. I picked it up when I was, I think I was 12. I was given one by my dad and his nephew, who was the same age. And it sat there for a couple of years, but it slowly called my attention. And I don't know, by the time I was 16, 18, I was playing it. But then I remember getting into the workforce as a labourer, and I'd talk about the didgeridoo and people would laugh at me. They, what do you muck around with that for? And that's how it went before it hit the shops and that in Sydney. People got interested in them.
Yeah.
I was playing it and making them, and then I think that's why I got really heavily involved, is because I was making good instruments and they were becoming popular. So it was like the oldest instrument in the world, but the newest one on the shelf.
I love that.
Yeah, and a lot of curiosity.
Yeah, I love that. The didgeridoo, it was showing up as the oldest instrument in the world, but the newest one on the shelf. That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing we could highlight before you play for us is just the sheer mystery of the age of the Aboriginal Australian traditions. They're not, hundreds of years old or even a few thousand. It's a great mystery just how old they are. Like some of the African tribes and the indigenous traditions of the planet in general, it just goes way back into distant prehistory and tens of thousands of years probably. So
Well, it's funny because I know our history goes back 60 or 70,000 years, and they know that this already because they're carbon dating some of the stuff, evidence that we find, cultural values that we find in the bush. Like they might find bodies of human remains, and they date them
right,
and go, wow, these are the oldest we've found.
right,
And that's starting to happen,
yeah,
know. And they haven't really found everything.
exactly. It could be far far older than tens
Yeah,
of thousands.
exactly.
It could be as old as the human race or
And
older.
especially they're not going to want to say that
Right.
because then power shifts back to the Indigenous people.
Right.
And they don't want that.
Right.
So
yeah,
they won't.
it's controversial.
They won't get too involved in
Yeah.
it. They'll just.
I actually saw an example of what you're saying recently in my research, where one of the oldest rituals on the planet, like a shamanistic ceremonial practice of magic of some sort, was being carbon dated based on some tools or some like a staff that was found in Australia. And I remember being impressed by how they could see that there seemed to be a tradition that's still passed generation to generation in one of the clans today, that they were carbon dating the same materials they're using for that practice today. And it was just, I forget, but prehistoric, very, very prehistoric.
Well, one thing that threw them out was when they found a petrified didgeridoo.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one, and I think that was in Sydney.
Wow.
When they were digging deep.
Yeah.
So it's a bit hard to say 70,000 years when a didgeridoo's turned to stone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. Pretty wild. And I mean, I always find it interesting that when we argue about the age of some of this indigenous knowledge and the advancement of it as well, and the effect of that on human consciousness and evolution in general, people often argue in the thousands of years, but the reality is that fire, the sacred fire, is at the heart of so many of those traditions, and we found evidence that that's 1 million or 2 million years old. So it may be far beyond what we're talking about usually, and so
we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
They're always discovering something new.
Right. So I want to invite you to play didgeridoo for us, which is a great honor. I know we're gonna get back to more of your own work and life story in a bit, but I'll just say, you're a world-renowned didgeridoo master, and both as a presenter and as a musician, a skilled didgeridoo musician. So why don't we show people on screen the size of this ancient instrument? This is just one version that...
this is the one I made this year.
So you made this exact didgeridoo with your own hands?
Yep.
You make didgeridoo.
I harvested it, and I'm going to see if I can get the light to go through it.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's basically hollow.
Hollow.
And as long as it's got the right hollow, it'll give you good bass, boost or whatever. But everything's done with your lips, your lungs and your tongue.
Yeah.
And your vocal cords.
Yeah, and that might be good to let people know too, because I've been playing as a side project, learning how to play for some years, and I will say it's not easy when you first try. It can take a lot of practice just to get the right sound, and I'm still working on the circular breathing. So the whole thing, to the level of mastery that you've developed, is a very advanced instrument to learn, and ancient. And so I would love to hear you give us a little didgeridoo concert.
Okay, well, what I'll do first, I'll just demonstrate the circular breathing.
Let's do that.
Because that's one thing that people come up, and I've narrowed it down to, if you're going to teach somebody lessons, I've got it down to 8 lessons. And learning circular breathing is the 3rd lesson. So everyone comes up to me, they go, oh, I want to learn how to circular breathe. Well, that's lesson 3. So we'll talk about that later, because you need to know stuff before you play to circular breathe. So circular breathing, I'll give a demo. It's just basically, I'm going to do a little bit of didge.
Yep.
And I'll circular breathe while I'm doing it. breaths. That should have picked it up. When I'm breathing, it's really just the first thing I've got to say, anyone can do it because it's a muscle memory. To prove that you can do it, if you're a baby and you're drinking from your mother's tip, you're breathing, but you're drinking and breathing at the same time, and you notice the baby never stops to take air. It's all in through the nostrils while they're drinking. Mm. This is very similar, but you're blowing. Mm-hmm. Now, but when you're blowing, you've got to catch air in your mouth. Look at it like bagpipes, and your mouth is the bag. Catch air, push that air out slowly, and in that 1.5 seconds, take a breath in. And while you're doing it through the didge, your air actually slows down, so you're really droning nicely, but the airflow is very slow. You could probably drone for half a minute. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to give you a demo now. All you got to do is make sure that you're getting a really slow volume of air. So you got to slow your air right down, get your lips the right tension, all of that. You got to muck around with it until you got the minimum amount of air, but for the maximum length drone. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you really just really slowly.
You're fine-tuning the expulsion.
Yeah, it's almost like getting the tune on a carburetor, getting the air and fuel right, but this is air and the tension of your lips. So slower you go, the bigger the breath you can take in. So that's a slow drone, long breath. When you get those fast rhythm going, you have to get faster breaths in. One thing you always got to remember too, if you want to do this, these fast breaths, you got to keep your lungs halfway at least. Don't only use your lungs from 50 to 100% full. Don't let it get lower than that. So when you're doing your fast breaths, so you get the breath in really quick, but if you need more air, you just got to get 4 or 5 quick breaths. Then you can rattle for another half a minute.
Wow. Yeah. So there's also this quality of rhythm and really, like for instance, on our tour this weekend, we're going to be even collaborating with electronic DJs for some of the stops, because I've noticed you're just very adaptable and open and working with different types of musicians and experimenting with the concerts. So can you maybe, and this could be with a demonstration if you'd like, just show us the musical nature of it, like play a traditional Aboriginal rhythm, for example, and give us a full kind of experience of the sound? Yeah.
So I'll play a traditional rhythm, which you'll have dancers dancing to and people clapping, percussion, or using clapsticks too. And this is a song with a traditional dance. And the next one I'm going to do is just going to be a didgeridoo song with pops and whistles that we don't use in traditional playing.
Okay, right. Great.
So first one, I might even use these, I'll see. So this is a Gurialda song. It's the story about Gurialda I told you. This is a song about him. So that was I'd done a short version of the Gurialda dance, and that's something that, you know, I would play if we were doing a presentation, traditional, proper presentation. But then usually we end up going into modern songs, and you know, there's a lot of stuff I was mucking around with earlier that you was listening to. I like playing along with songs. I've got some favourite songs. This one, I like playing along with it, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. You might be able to figure it out. But that's a different song. That's I forgot their name. In Excess. Mm-hmm. If I had the music playing in my ears, I'd be able to play the song better. But that's something I want to do too. I shouldn't say it online. Might want to cut it out. But I want to play some songs, listening to those songs. Mm-hmm. But then they'll be my songs because it's Didge. Mm-hmm. Anyway, some fun stuff. And I got this Didge too, which has been given to me by Rob Thomas of Indokesh about 21 years ago. So happy birthday, happy 21st, Didge.
Happy birthday.
This is a fun one. I like this because it's got some deep sounds. And this is one I like to do my vibrational sound therapy with. Yeah, so that's a little bit of fun. I've just had to patch that up a little bit. So
yeah.
It got cracked, so I fixed it with some tape. Might need a bit more tape.
Yeah, very nice.
But yeah, it's hard to think of something to play when you're alone. You can play the songs, but it's hard to think of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I like to just play along with other beats.
Yeah.
If someone goes, I like that beat. Can I play along? Then you just walk up with a Didge.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to explore this weekend. We have several stops, and just in case you let me play along, I'll bring my djembe because it might create
Please bring it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll do a lot of drumming and didge. It'll be really cool. I'm excited for that. And then one of my best friends, Blue Murian, who's a pretty well-known DJ, is excited that you'll stay up on stage because we're opening for him on a couple days. So he'll get some rhythms going for us on the speakers, and we can experiment. By the time this comes out, the tour will be long gone, but we'll keep working together and creating opportunities for people to connect. And where can people find more information about your music and about your work? Is it?
Well, at the moment, I've been trying to have a website. My website sometimes works. lewisburns.com.
Great, Lewis. And if there's any malfunctions with it, we'll fix it up.
So, sometimes it works. Otherwise, look on social media. I'm on Instagram, lewisburns64. I'm on LinkedIn for the business side of my stuff.
Yeah.
Sort of linked with all the big natives. I mean, hobnobs of Dubbo, like with all the big top jobs.
Yeah.
What was the one?
Facebook. I saw that you had a pretty big Facebook following.
Facebook, I've got a page.
Yeah.
Australian Aboriginal artist Lewis Burns.
Yeah. Very cool. Beautiful. Well, so one of the things that I find amazing about what you showed us is that it's not just music, but it's really breathwork practice. And so,
can I tell you something about that?
Yeah, please.
I went and done a full medical when I was 55, and I went and had to blow through this pipe. It was a big pipe, and I just said, blow as hard as you can, as long as you can. And I didn't like it, but I did it. And they'd done some other tests, and then they went, and the doctor came in, and he looked around the door, and I could hear him talking to him, and he came over and he said, how old are you? And I said, 55. He said, you got the lungs of a 24-year-old. Must be the Didge.
It must be.
Because I smoked for 15 years, cigarettes.
That's a great story.
And don't let them fool you with that what is it when if you got what is it when you can't sleep properly? You stop breathing.
Oh, sleep apnea.
If you got sleep apnea,
Yeah.
because I'm the worst sleep apnea case in the world. My missus reckons I stop breathing for a minute, but they reckon playing didgeridoo helps you. I'm playing it all day, every day nearly. Hasn't helped me yet.
Yeah.
So maybe only for some people.
Yeah. Well, it's the didgeridoo as a breath work is really amazing because breath work is a pretty universal practice. It's especially popular nowadays. It's one of those things that's like what you said about the instrument. It's the oldest thing in the world and the newest thing on the shelf. It's as popular as it gets all over the planet right now. But we've been doing it since long before we were humans breathing. And so, there's pranayama and the yoga traditions and all these kinds of things. But right here in Australia, through the music, we're in the States right now, but right in this tradition from Australia and the Aboriginal music, you have this advanced breathing technique where you're breathing in through the nostrils, right? And you're expelling air in a very conscious and intentional way through the mouth. And it's all very measured, and you're adjusting how long it is and how strong it is. So
it gets down to a lot of detail, but the basics are pretty easy.
Yeah.
It reminded me of an old saying, and I think it's an American saying, from an old farmer that said, "Deep breathing alone can make a sick man well and a weak man strong."
Right.
And that's just standing there breathing.
Right.
Now, when you think about it, people who go and exercise, what else do they do?
Breathe in deep.
Breathe deep, but they don't notice they're doing it because the exercise makes them do it.
Yeah.
But if you just do the breathing without the exercise, you might end up with the same results.
Right. So the oxygenation probably makes you smarter too, stronger, healthier, faster, potentially happier. There's all kinds of science about this. So on every dimension of your being, breath work, especially at the level of something like didgeridoo, is really good for you.
I'll tell you another story. This only happened to me a month ago. I fell on a log walking to the fire. Like I was carrying a log to the fire to put it in. And my foot caught on a piece of reinforcement mesh and didn't allow me to stumble. So I went straight down onto the log, fractured me rib.
Oh no.
And the next day I must have slept with shallow breathing. And the next day I was coughing, clearing me lungs out.
Yeah.
So, and they said to me, that's when I went to emergency, and they said you have to keep breathing deep, because if you don't use the part of your lung, if you don't use the part of your lungs, you get pleurisy. Because you have to use it. I was like, wow, well that's freaking me out. But I made sure I did it. But I noticed every time I woke up in the morning, I had to clear my lungs a bit.
Yeah.
So when I go to sleep, it must naturally go to the shallow breathing. Whereas normally I breathe deep in a sleep.
Yeah.
But it's healing now. It's not bothering me so much.
That's good.
I just reckon they never found it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also it's an altering practice. It's very mind expanding to breathe. The air is our first medicine. It's our first food, right?
It makes you realise, when you're trying to get a bit of air, it makes you realise how much you need it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the elements. Like we can go without food for weeks and water for days, but air is a matter of minutes. So, it's really, really important element of life. It's can't emphasize that enough. As soon as we're born, that's what we start with. So very special. So you said that first song, the traditional song that you used, the clap sticks, which I guess are also part of the traditional components, and I see there's some markings on them. You said that was from, it was a song that's about the rainbow serpent.
Yeah, and the action of him shaping the land.
So this is a rainbow serpent who moves around, creates the mountains.
Yeah, and the dancers would act out the snake, so there'd be a row of dancers that'd be sort of like a conga line, and the person at the front's the head, and then all the others, 8, 5, 10, however many you got, will follow.
Wow.
And then in the middle, the rhythm changed and it went quicker. So that when the middle changed and I changed that rhythm, that was when it breaks apart and becomes different animals that were created once the land was shaped
So it's kind of like all the different people in the tribe are coming together and their bodies are forming this one
Yeah.
organism of this larger serpent that's
Yeah.
moving together, and then they break apart and become all the different animals
Yeah.
representing from
And
the
they
body
can be
of the
different
serpent.
animals every time they dance.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
any animal that we knew of,
Yeah.
Australian animals.
yeah,
Because people, the kids, they go, "Oh, how come you don't do giraffes?"
yeah.
Well, we didn't have them.
We didn't have giraffes.
Never seen them.
That's it's kind of cool though when you think about it energetically. It's like each person's like a vertebrae in the spine of this
Yeah.
moving serpent. Yeah, very interesting. And then you said when the rainbow is in the sky, that's the serpent
That's him
coming out of the
coming
ground,
out of the ground and going back in.
And his movements make the shapes of the earth. So cool. And that's an example of a Dreamtime story, but then it's told through the music and the dance,
Yeah,
which is
we didn't have a written language. So
Right.
we had to speak it or sing it.
And
or
I
dance
want to
it.
emphasize that because I think some people have this misconception about literacy and forms of symbolism and written language and things like this, because the indigenous traditions around the world are so advanced and precise and scientific that we can barely wrap our heads around it, often in the places where their science doesn't look like ours.
Yeah.
Right? Because often in and I'm speaking for myself here because you are from Australia ancestrally, but I just noticed that, like, for instance, the Shipibo in Peru and other places, the artwork is telling the story. It's mapping. It is like a language. It's like
Yeah.
mapping something through a
It's
symbol
information
system.
in some way.
It's encoded. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
enciphered in the symbolism of the art. In the patterns of the movement of the dance you just described. In India, the tabla drums, right? They tell entire stories about Krishna just with the rhythms.
Yeah.
It's like sentences with punctuations.
I collabed with a tabla one time in Dubbo.
That's very cool. I mean, that's an example of something that's so cool that can happen in our day and age.
And a bagpipe player.
Wow, from Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, the fact that we live in a world now where someone who's carrying this, like, cryptic ancient language system of the tabla rhythms from India can play along with someone that's carrying this cryptic ancient language system of the didgeridoo rhythms from
We had
Australia.
a good time too.
Yeah, it sounds so fun. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And one last thing I'll emphasize about it is just that it's like one of the oldest unbroken direct transmission lineages in the world. Like in many Eastern traditions, they talk about that generation to generation passing these secret teachings or practices by word of mouth, right? And that's what y'all have been doing since forever, is you're just passing one generation.
They
to
thought
the next.
100 years, the colonisers thought 100 years they could get it out of us, but it survived.
Still
in
here.
whispers.
Here we are. We're recording it right now.
As soon as we were given the freedom to be black again,
Yeah.
it all just came to the surface. All the cultures did it is.
Yeah.
Like it was survived in whispers.
Yeah.
And the only thing our parents didn't do was make us speak traditional language first. They let us learn language, English first, to protect us in the schools and in the homes or whatever, because it was flogged out of you.
Right.
Language was flogged out of you
Right.
if you were speaking it.
Well, kind of like prophesied, the knowledge wasn't able to be eradicated. It just went underground, and now it's reemerging, and it's stronger than ever, and it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing for sure, and I'm glad we can be helping us support that. So yeah, it's definitely an honor to have you here. I want to transition for now to the artwork.
Yeah.
Let's hear about it. So I know this is yet another example. You're a very gifted, as an individual, not just musician, but also visual artist. You have an incredible sense of color and contrast and movement and texture. I'm extremely impressed and inspired.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you're also, in your artwork, including primarily the influence of this ancient symbol system of the Australian tradition. So why don't you share with us what the Aboriginal art is all about with these original paintings that you have here?
So this one
Yeah.
was about, I did this for the son of a friend, a good friend, almost like a nephew, this boy. When he got married, he was from the Wiradjuri tribe, which you can see outlined in red dots and a black line. Mm-hmm. And then she was from the Gamilaroi tribe, a neighbouring tribe, and it's outlined with yellow dots. The reason I did that was because the red ochre you put on men and the yellow dots, the yellow ochre women wear. But that represents her family, her and her family. So that'd be her because it's the most prominent with with the Coolaman, and that's the butt print on the ground. That's a national symbol across Australia. We can all understand that. That's how we represent a person sitting next to a fire. And that's a woman because of the Coolaman. There's a male because he's got a spear, possibly right-handed male. There's the Kamilaroi and Wiradjuri words to tell the difference. Another woman with a Coolaman, another man. Then that's how you understand the people. So that represents her family. This represents his family. And then they travelled to Sydney, that was east to where these two tribes are, and they met up in Sydney to get married. Mm-hmm. And that's him in the middle, and that's her in the middle, and that's her family, and that's his family. Mm-hmm. And then I made sure I put the traditional food sources for both tribal areas, goannas, kangaroo, to also teach about the footprints of the kangaroo.
Uh-huh. Okay, I understand now. So these are kangaroo footprints. Mm. And then those are human footprints representing their travel together eastward.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then there's
these are rivers and water holes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are rivers, and water holes are the black serpentine lines. Mm-hmm. And then the kangaroo and the iguana.
Yeah, they're the food sources.
And then these little shoe horse shapes are like a person sitting directly on the ground, like the print.
So each shoe horse shape represents a person.
Right.
But to represent a woman, you would put a Coolaman and a digging stick beside her.
And a Coolaman is a seed.
It's a dish made out of wood.
A dish made out of wood.
Carry the seeds in or water in or carry babies in.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's like a bowl that holds items like babies in it. Okay, and then the digging stick is for what? For planting?
It's for them for rummaging and digging for possibly bush yams or anything. Mm. But mainly the digging stick was good for digging out echidnas when they burrow, because they burrow and they just leave their quills sticking under the ground and they're hard to get. So the digging stick is good to get underneath them and flip them out so you can grab them by the foot. And it's good for knocking them out of their misery as well. Mm-hmm.
And then the men are represented by the boomerang and the spear. And so the boomerang is a traditional Australian...
Boomerang is a traditional Australian instrument, but there's many different types of boomerang. The most famous one is the returning boomerang, which was only used when you're on walkabout by yourself, because you kill when you're travelling, you kill enough to eat.
Yeah.
When you're travelling alone, a bird is enough.
Right.
Something small. So the returning boomerang, let's say the wind is coming from your direction to me, then there's a flock of birds up there, they're sitting on the ground or on water, whatever, and you're downwind and you throw the boomerang that way, it turns, and but it manages to turn into the wind. But the whole time it's making that noise.
Yeah.
So that anything on the ground will hear it and think it's a chicken hawk or something attacking. They all fly up, and one will fly into the path of the boomerang. Now, if it doesn't happen, naturally, the boomerang will go straight through, and the wind will carry it back, and it'll land near you, or you can catch it. Yeah. And you just wait for them to settle down again and throw it again. But usually 2 throws is plenty.
From hunting. It's wild that it's become something we all know all over the world as an image and as a word, what a boomerang is, and even the idea of a boomerang effect of something flying away and coming back to you. But it's this ancient Aboriginal Australian technology of this instrument that you throw towards the wind and it turns around and comes back. But the returning one that's so famous, you're saying, is from the walkabout specifically when you're out on your own. Yeah.
And it's never been a toy. Never was a toy. They're too dangerous. So we always made them out of hardwood. Yeah. Some of them, they might have been that big.
Yeah, they're weapons. Yeah. And so all of these butt prints, or like someone sitting cross-legged or something like this on the ground, these are all, because they look like a sun. They look almost like a sunflower or something like this. But it's because they're gathered around a fire, and it's a group of people.
So something else I didn't tell you, the dots represent life, activity or movement in Wiradjuri culture. So around these, they represent the life force of the person, but the line on the front represents the light and heat coming from the fire.
So it's so strong at the front that the lines are connected, because that's how much energy is there.
Yeah.
And is that also related to why these two? Because these are the married couple facing each other,
Yeah,
so there's more energy
they
there.
got so much light coming from both fires that they're covered in a line rather than the dots.
So the life force energy that's represented as movement and motion in life, and that's the dots in the art. That's the code that the dots represent, is the life force energy moving
Yeah,
and changing, and they're so covered in it from the two fires coming together in their marriage that it becomes a line unbroken. Incredible. That's so cool.
and like in the rivers, bigger dots in the middle because the river runs faster in the middle, and smaller dots on the outside.
Right.
For the smaller currents.
So the force of the movement is represented by the bigger dots. Incredible. Yeah, it's so cool because that's yet another very widely recognized image now, and is even being borrowed or appropriated by different cultures in different places on a lot of art I see around the Caribbean and Central America or from Indonesia. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to mention is when I go to these World Indigenous gatherings,
Yeah.
it's so crazy how there's traditional custodians from another side of the world, and we've got similar words.
That's true. That's the other thing. There's also this global interconnection mystery and parallels. But then you also see like African masks sold in Caribbean Mexico with Australian dots on them, which is maybe a newer thing. But there are, of course, unbelievable global parallels as well since forever. So that's
and
very interesting.
some of them are exactly the same, some of them are just similar.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. So, I've learned a lot already about the meaning of the art. Is this a style? Because one of my favorite effects is that you have this powerful contrast of light and dark, and you have a dark background on your paintings, but then there's these sparks of starlight. So can you tell us about that? Is that something that is more of an original flavor from you, or how do the stars work in the traditional
that's
art?
probably
What do they mean?
more my addition from learning traditional ways and then adding something.
Yeah.
But I always like, in the background, I like to try and make it look as close enough as I can to rock. To the rock where we did our rock art. And then paint onto it like rock art. And then I also try and make sure there's colours in that to represent the colours of the planet from above. Because all of our paintings are sort of like from above paintings.
So almost like glyphs, like there's a hieroglyphic quality to it. Yeah. And then what about, I see the two sections of the two nations that came together in this marriage, but what about the stars themselves here? I see they're kind of following the footprints. Are they representing any particular
Well, the
formation?
star represents the Australia's Southern Cross in the sky.
So it's a constellation?
Yeah,
Or,
and the Southern Cross shows it's where the head of the emu is in the sky, the emu in the sky. You ever heard of that?
I have not heard of the emu in the sky
emu,
that I can remember.
The emu in the sky comes out at a certain point in the year, which tells people when to collect their eggs. But
when to collect the emu eggs.
Yeah,
okay.
and you don't recognise it until you're told about it for the first time, and then you can't unsee it.
And then it's always visible.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I have that experience with things like Orion's Belt and the Big Dipper, where I wouldn't know it if I didn't know it, but now that I do, and it comes out in that part of the year, I know it.
Second nature.
Yeah. It's very obvious. So that's called the Southern Cross in the Australian constellation
I don't know if
system.
we've got a traditional name for it.
Sure. But it is a traditional Australian star system representation.
It's a constellation where the head of the emu is.
Yeah. Very cool. So you've got.
We also use that to find our directions.
Yeah. And now, okay, so it's a navigational.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic, because isn't there some connection between these oceanic cultures like Australia and the Polynesian travelers, or is that like the...
There is.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about it, but I don't know enough about it to talk about it.
Yeah, it's just fascinating because somehow these Polynesian seafarers seem to have made it everywhere, to all the islands and Easter
but they didn't get any big islands. I got friends at Rapa Nui.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get them to Dubbo.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to go there too.
Yeah, me too.
But it's sort of like Australia's here.
Yeah.
New Zealand's here.
Yeah.
They're Polynesian.
Yeah.
And the Rapa Nui are way over here.
Yeah.
and there was nothing between. I don't remember anything between, or any stories between
New Zealand,
Maoris
yeah.
and Aboriginal people.
Maoris, okay. So the New
Even
Zealand
they were
natives are,
boat people. They built boats and travelled across the sea.
yeah,
They never come to Australia,
yeah,
or they probably did.
yeah. It was a vacation spot.
Yeah. One thing I did hear in Australia, I heard that there were hieroglyphs
Uh-huh.
the same as the ones in Egypt,
Wow.
and apparently some pharaoh's son, prince,
yeah.
came to Australia,
Yeah.
and they found a friggin' boomerang in his tomb,
Wow.
an
Wow.
Australian boomerang
Yeah.
with jewels set into it.
Yeah. Well, there's some modern science, including multiple scientific studies that are peer reviewed, challenged, retested. Where, speaking of what you're talking about, they used to believe, the scientists for a long time claimed that plants like coca and tobacco grew pretty much exclusively in like the Americas and certain parts of the world, and not anywhere near Egypt. But they found an ancient Egyptian tomb, and there was coca and tobacco, and there were traces
I
of
love
coca
when
and
that
tobacco.
stuff happens.
And it seemed to be in the ancient Egyptian tomb with the pharaoh that was buried in there, or whichever mummy,
Yeah.
right? They found, and then they said, the skeptics and the cynics, or whatever you want to call it, the ones that wanted to try to debunk it, they started saying, well, that's not possible, that messes with our scientific model, the modern Western paradigm, so we're going to say that it was contaminated, and that they accidentally got some sort of residue of the coca and tobacco on this mummy. And so then the other scientists later, again, they kept testing it. They said, well, let's find out. And they tested the hair follicles, and it was in the hair of the mummy. So the person in his lifetime, thousands of years ago, was taking coca and tobacco.
He died off his head.
Yeah.
Because it's in his body still.
Yeah, it's still in his body. Still in his system. So and they had to accept, all right, it's in his system. So somehow
I love how
sacred
things
plants
get
from the
debunked like
Americas.
that.
Yeah. Still in, then they're in ancient Egypt. So who knows? But anyways, yeah, very, very powerful art. And now I know so much more, because I'd imagine that somebody with an understanding like you just described is now able to look at a painting like this and begin to decipher what it's about, whereas I just looked at it and thought beautiful.
Yeah, and I like to teach art.
Right.
Not for people to go and paint it, so
Right.
they can understand it.
Right. Now when I look at it, I can think beautiful, I can think, skillful, technical skill. But then I look at it and now I know, meaning and a story, and there's travel happening, and there's two tribes represented, and the dots are the motion, and the light from the fire is the line, and all of this. So it's very, very fascinating to learn like that. Beautiful. So we've got a little bit of information about the platypus already that you just made here while visiting the Interworld Eco Village in Colorado. So I'm very glad to see that.
Did I tell the platypus story, did I?
You did, yeah. You told us the platypus story.
That's why I think that story when I'm painting
Yeah.
a platypus, sometimes I put two on.
Yeah. So you're telling not just a story like this one, but just like the dance, just like the didgeridoo rhythm, right?
Yeah.
The painting itself is not just telling a story, but it's representing a creation of dreamtime transmission of
story
knowledge,
that I have to pass
traditional
on.
knowledge. You have to pass it on.
Yeah, it's not mine. It's a story that I was given by my elders, and I've got to pass it on.
So now, as an Aboriginal elder, you're using not a just a surface level performance or painting, but you're using your art, your didgeridoo as a teaching method, and you're transmitting timeless information to the next
That's why I never ever set out to be an entertainer, and I'm not. I'm an edutainer, because whenever you listen to my entertainment, you get educated.
A teacher. Beautiful. All right. Well, let's hear about this last painting on the other side of you. And you might need to speak up so that the mic catches it.
This is a very basic painting. It shows the river running along in the middle. Well, it doesn't matter. It just shows the river running through the landscape. On one side, you got 4 hunters. There's their butt prints, and they're like, this bloke's right-handed, he's left-handed, he's right, and they're camped, but they're out hunting for food, and they see an emu walk. That's an emu footprint, and the emu walks past, and they decide to follow him. And on the other side of the river, you've got another 4 hunters, and they're they had a kangaroo that went past and they decided to follow the kangaroo.
Uh-huh.
So it's basically hunting for kangaroo and emu.
So it's basic storytelling
Yeah.
where you can decipher that. And so the side that's dominant of the hunter is represented the side of their body where they're resting the spear on the ground from that hand.
Yeah.
And the line next to the butt print is the spear set down on the ground. And then you can recognize the footprints of the animals for tracking.
Emu, person, and if they've got other weapons like this dude, that one here, he's got a nulla, which is the thing, a club, to put something out of its misery. And the same thing again with the water. Oh, the handprints you see in the back of our art a lot, and that's a way of bringing our ancestors in, but it's also a way of putting your own signature into a painting, because we only been signing them for a couple hundred years. Normally we're just supposed to be putting information up, you know, like artists had to do the language, which was the story written or painted.
So you wouldn't have written it.
No,
so instead of signing,
it.
you'd put a handprint.
Yeah, and that comes from if you're in traditional tribal area with handprints, rock art.
Yeah.
The handprints are there, then you know your ancestors were there that are gone.
Yeah.
And when you're there, you're with them in spirit, and they're with you in spirit.
Wow, so it's almost, that gave me shivers just now. Just picturing that. You go to a sacred site by the rocks and you know the ancestors were there because of the painting on the rocks.
And their handprints.
And it's like you're touching hands when you put your hand there.
And they're with you in spirit.
That's the chain of connection. Wow.
And that's what the smoking ceremony does. It invites your ancestors to be with you, and it gets rid of any bad energy.
Okay, so the smoking ceremony is a smudging. You're not inhaling smoke. You're burning eucalyptus leaves.
No, we're just rinsing ourselves, washing ourselves with the smoke. I tell people, if you've got a breathing problem, hold your breath.
Yeah.
Or don't go through. But, you know, some people don't participate because they don't believe in Aboriginal culture and all that sort of stuff. We don't want them to participate if they want to be like that.
Yeah. But this eucalyptus is the main plant that you use for that?
Yeah, because of the healing qualities of the eucalypt. I've got some eucalyptus oil.
Yeah, so you have the oil, you make didgeridoos out of it, and you use the leaves for the smudging, for the burning.
And now I'm lucky because I make didgeridoos, a lot of the shavings that I make, I put aside as a start-up for start the fires, and I just keep them in my work shed.
So then
because some days I get asked to do smoking ceremonies and it's pissing down rain.
Yeah.
And you can't find dry fuel when it's raining. You got to have it.
Yeah.
So I bring out my didgeridoo shavings and the offcuts and all that. And I just burn that, and people go, "Oh, it smells nice."
Yeah.
I wait until the leaves go in.
Yeah. Wow, eucalyptus, the sacred plant.
And just as another little hint, a lot of people don't know this, but I like to dip my leaves in water and shake them off. Yeah. And that way you do that in the summer anyway, because you don't want them to dry out really quick and burst into flames while people are smoking themselves. Yeah. And if it's water on them, then they're going to smoke thicker and deeper. Yeah. So sometimes I've had to get out of the smoke. Yeah. It's that thick. I was like, oh, I've got to get out.
Yeah.
To go get some air, come back in.
Yeah, cool. The handprints on that particular painting are very special the way they're done. It's like an imprint in the night sky. It's you know, I don't know how you did that. I guess there's like some layers of, what's the word, spray or something like that of the paint.
Well, traditionally it's done, you put the ochre in your mouth.
Okay.
And then you mix it, put a bit of water and you spray it.
Yeah.
At your hand or at your weapon or tool.
So that's what that's representing.
Yeah, but it represents that, but I'm not putting paint in my mouth.
Sure.
I'll use a brush and flick it.
Yeah.
It gets the same effect.
But that same flicking effect traditionally would have been done by putting red ochre in your mouth and spraying it out, spitting it out. Very interesting. And
this is something that I always wondered if it was anything in it, because the dentist always asks about how come Aboriginal people had brilliant teeth at the age
Great
of 80.
Teeth.
I said, well, everything they ate had charcoal on it.
Yeah, charcoal.
And we did put ochre in our mouths.
Charcoal and ochre in the mouth. Fascinating. Strong teeth. That's cool. So And then red ochre, I know, is also like a pretty worldwide and very, very mysterious ancient phenomenon. In like caves, cave art, ceremonial grounds, there's layers of red ochre from prehistory. But your actual tribe that you come from, the Tabaga, means the
Yeah,
people of the red.
Tabaga. I'm from Tabaga, Wiradjuri.
Yeah.
Wiradjuri being the nation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tabaga being
Right.
our tribal group.
Right.
And Taba means red ochre. Ga means people. We're the
Yeah.
red ochre people of the Wiradjuri nation.
Yeah, red ochre. Very fascinating. So while we're on this topic, let me ask you about the face paint and the outfit, because I've seen you and our friend AJ's video, I know now has like 7 million views on YouTube, which is pretty cool. And you are the Aboriginal elder in that video playing traditional didgeridoo rhythms, and you're in the traditional outfit, which I also saw you on stage at the Heart and Mind Festival in New York once like that. And you got the outfit, you got the paint, the body paint. So what's that all about? How does that work?
Well, we use the ochre, which is from the ground. Our mother is the planet, so when we use ochre and put it on our bodies for ceremony, we've got our mother's arms around us in spirit. Now, the designs we put on, that's our uniform, basically a Guernsey. And the design I'd use starts here, goes down like that, and it represents the Macquarie and the Talbragar rivers. And then they go down and they finish like that. And that represents where they do join on in our tribe, but that when it stops here, that's because it goes into another tribal area, the river. So that represents my area of the river that I have to care for. And I still have that passion today, so I'm trying to look at ways of creating a business with fisheries, so we can increase the native fish and reduce the non-native fish, which are carp, and they're becoming out of proportion. So we've got to figure out what to do with the carp or the koi. But the rivers aren't what they used to be because of the carp. We used to be able to see the bottom of the river, and we used to be able to spear the fish, pick the fish before we speared it. Now you can't see your hand in front of your face
Because it's dirty.
murky, and that's all from the carp, because they live on the bottom and they muck up the mud, and they eat all the eggs of the other fish. So it's detrimental in a lot of ways.
So it's an ecological imbalance that's happening from a non-native fish species.
70 or 80 years ago, there was a government initiative to make Australia look as much like England as possible. So
How long ago?
70 years, and they were bringing in foxes, rabbits, toads, carp, willow trees, and planted willows along the river. And they become in plague proportions. And so we said, now you got to pull them all out. So once they started listening to us, they went. They had big projects of pulling all these willow trees out of the rivers. It was like spending millions of dollars to fix problems that they created. And that's like, well, why did you create it in the first place? You should listen. So now they're starting and listening to us.
So they've gone from persecuting and oppressing and trying to eliminate all your knowledge to realizing that they might be ending the world by overemphasizing their own and ignoring what you actually know. And now they're asking for help to figure out how to fix the problem they started.
It's almost exactly like that TV show I did. Monster House back in 2004.
What did you do?
Well, I was only hired to put some colours up to represent Australia. But I ended up getting involved in the construction. And then I figured out how to fix the problem. And they wasn't listening. There was a group of 5 builders and an Aboriginal artist from Australia. And they were trying to figure out how to get this windshield to go up and down on a Jeep. And they just couldn't do it. And if they weren't going to do it soon, they wouldn't have won the prizes, because you had till midnight Friday. You had all week to do the build. And I came in and I said, I think I figured it out. And they just totally ignored me. So I just went and started putting it together, and they were following me. And I solved the problem. And by the time I solved the problem, I said, let's go see what he's doing. And I was like a hero in the show. And that was because they wouldn't listen to me. But I knew I had good input that no one wanted to listen to. And I couldn't wait I didn't want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had to do it,
Mm-hmm.
so I did it.
Yeah. Great. Well, so let's come back to the land and the ecological side in a bit. You've been doing this for 40 years, sharing your culture and your knowledge with the future generations as an elder now, and you've had a lot of experiences. So I know you've played in didgeridoo all over the world. You were telling me about a show at was it the World Trade Center? Or,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got 3 years ago. I got might have been 2 years ago. I think it was December 23.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call. I think it was AJ that called me, and,
Yeah.
he said they tried to get they tried to get an Aboriginal didgeridoo player to come and play on the 82nd floor of the One World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they asked so and so. I'm not going to mention who, and he said I'll do it for 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, I'd done it for 5, and that they didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
They already said no to the other dude, and then I said I would have done it for 5, and he put that proposal to them, and they agreed. And they flew me to New York. I was gone for 4 or 5 days from home. Mm-hmm. I was 3 nights in New York. They flew me there. I went to the World Trade Center, played for 30 minutes, went and had a shower, mingled with all the hobnobs, and then went back to the hotel and flew out the next day.
Nice.
And they paid me $5,000 US.
Yeah, very nice. So
I need more of those gigs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get a plan going next time. So aside from that, what I thought was really amazing was you told. So there's a gathering, a big powwow style Indigenous gathering in the Americas called the Gathering of Nations. I think next year is the last year, 2026. The next last one is the next one.
Wow.
Which is a big deal because it's been going for 43 years. And I know that a lot of different elders and a lot of different nations show up to that one in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I know because the Cherokee elder, Yona, that I was in Lebanon with last year or the year before, he was potentially going to come visit us here at the Eco Village because he'd be going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, as always, for that gathering. So I've heard about it. And then you were telling me that you were the first ever Aboriginal presenter there.
I played there in 2000. I'd done a half an hour performance on the Didge and talked a little bit about culture. Al Gore was there. I met him. I don't know why he had an alligator with him, but it was on a leash, so I was good with that. But I got to know some of the native people at that festival and ended up staying with some of them for a while and being invited back. I got invited back to Thunder in the Desert in 2000, so it must have been 1999, the one that I was at, because I remember come back for the first day of the first sunrise of the new millennium, and I was in Arizona at Tucson for that.
Wow.
With Fred Cinder, who was organising Tucson's Thunder in the Desert.
Wow. Tucson, Arizona. So you went from Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1999, being the first ever Aboriginal presenter doing a half-hour didgeridoo concert at the Gathering of Nations, the famous one that's ending next year. I have to invite the elders and some people. Maybe we'll do a more global one, but have a small gathering here on the land instead in a couple of years.
To be honest, it'd be nice to bring a couple of dancers,
Let's
and
do it.
Something traditional, more traditional at the gathering, if we could do it.
Yeah.
And everywhere else.
Yeah, let's find a way to get some Aboriginal dancers and other people from different parts of the world. Yeah.
It'd be nice to catch up with people that I met there before, but I don't know. It's been 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll talk to our Cherokee elder who goes there if we can, and there's a Lakota elder, Joseph Medicine Robe, here in Colorado I like working with a lot, so we'll have to invite him, and Nana Marina from the Mayan nation, the Tutuhil, comes to visit us sometimes.
I know her. I met her.
Yeah, you met her, so hopefully we get some different people together here and have a little conference.
I'd like to bring a respectful group of dancers. I might pick out another group, because I caused about 35 people to get their passport over the years. You go get your passport, I'll take you. You'll be a dancer in other countries. And it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
Some of my nephews, just some of my friends.
Yeah. Well, our festival, so the Eco Village here is connected to our festival that our nonprofit organizes, and we've done some pretty big events with well-known artists and musicians, but we like to, at one point we did a sustainable living conference, and we want to have like an Indigenous wisdom convergence, so it'd be good to get people together for something like that, and That's the in-person part of the school we're creating. So we'll have online courses and educational material like this episode, but then an opportunity for people to actually come experience things firsthand is
Yeah,
good.
I enjoy playing for
Yeah.
people to learn, but I really do enjoy talking,
Yeah.
answering questions.
Yeah.
And it's probably become evident
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
because I'll just rave on until you start to turn me in another
Yeah.
direction.
Well, that's what I like about this because you use the word edutainment.
Yeah.
And I loved when you did that because it really helps sum up what inevitably our whole organization ends up being about. And a lot of my work too is like we end up doing edutainment all the time. So when you say you're a didgeridoo player, I'm like, well, that's amazing and it sounds great. But when I know you're an Indigenous elder and you want to do a Q&A and have a dialogue and talk in
Yeah.
front of people, I'm like, well, this is good because now we're going to a festival and we can collaborate with the DJ and
Yeah.
entertain, but we're also going to have a talk and it's going to be really transformational.
Yeah, I can go from deep cultures talking to someone about modern pops and whistles and bells and play along with them too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Very
it's
cool.
all fun.
It's all
I love doing traditional stuff, and I like playing new stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I don't want to, before we have our last couple of questions here and wrap up, I don't want to push you into any particular one. You told me one story about a art competition in the car, but any particular highlight or one or two stories from your own journeys in life you want to share with us to get close to wrapping it up? Yeah.
So the video that AJ recorded that got 7 million views was seen by Keith Urban.
Oh, really?
He downloaded it and mixed it into one of his songs
Okay.
and sent me a session fee. I'm on one of his albums.
Oh, wow.
So he's got $270 million and he gave me 1,000.
Okay.
I would have rather have done some kind of royalty thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take too much of his money.
Yeah.
Poor fella.
Yeah.
But
Keith Urban. So this is like what kind of music?
he's a country music star that's from Australia and he's been in America for probably 20 years. He just travels, lives in Nashville. He's married to Nick, what's her name? Nicole Kidman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So they owe you a little bit for that didgeridoo
Maybe, I don't
sample,
know.
I
You
guess.
you can't really hear it in the song, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
So I might do one of Keith's songs and see if
there
I can
you
make
go.
some money off it.
Yeah, put it in the headphones and play a ditch song. That's funny. All right. Well, there's lots of stories. You're working on getting some land back initiatives going with your people. You want to share a little bit about your stewardship and ecological initiatives?
So I got involved with our traditional owner corporation in 2012. And that year I was on the board and I've been on the board since. And I've been chairing it since 2013. And we went from having a box of paper and asking can we have a meeting at somebody's place. From then to now we've got a $2.5 million property that we can present all our cultural events on. That's very similar, very close to our grinding grooves that that a lot of people come to Dubbo to see. We can walk to them. So we go for a walk on country. This is area that was we managed to get it back because we proved that it was part of our burial ground, and they wouldn't believe us until 1987, when the developer that owned the land at the time was digging with the backhoe, and the skulls of a body went back. The skull of a body rolled back in. They discovered two bodies. The two bodies were of two women. One was an adult, one was a girl. The adult was a clever woman, which is a law woman, and she had different bone implements with her in the grave that you don't normally see, or they're normally not made out of human bone, but these were. I don't think they've found the other human bone implements in Australia yet. But they got advice, they got an archaeologist and an anthropologist to come from Canberra, the capital in Australia. They came to Dubbo, went out and had a look at it. They carbon dated it at 7,000 years, I think it was, and they went and they'd done a whole report on it, which you can find online on the internet, It's called the Terramunga Mine Incident. And then they documented all the artefacts that they found, and then they got advice from the wrong Aboriginal people in Dubbo. And they just said, just bury it over there and keep going. Well, that's bad advice, because they're disturbing the body of an ancestor. So we had to, I didn't do it personally, but my older brother and cousin did it, because they were at the time the right people for that job, and they repatriated those bones in a proper ceremony, and the peace come back over the land. Because they'd said the bloke that owned the land, he took that advice in 1987. By 1998 he was in receivership. 11 years later, and he lost a kid.
Wow.
And the kid, it's good, we do believe, is buried on the land we got, because there's a little memorial there.
Wow.
It gets tended to. We don't see anybody, but sometimes some new plastic flowers are there.
Yeah, well, that kind of thing's got to be real. If you think about you just made me think of what I don't know if meme is the right word, but what a meme it's become, like, in the sense that mimetic, like, it's kind of almost cliche, kind of a joke, but it's like common knowledge. If you disturb the native burial grounds, weird stuff will start happening.
Exactly.
So don't do it.
Yeah,
don't
people
do
just
it.
go, well, I don't believe in that, and then they go and do something silly, and 2 days later they're trying to get air.
Yeah.
Or
So don't build on the old burial ground.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. You gotta learn about the ancestral ways. All right.
Or if you do it with respect.
Right.
Because if you're showing respect to the ancestors, then it's fine. And I think it has happened, because one thing about it is we get people in Dubbo, because it's 10 kilometres to Dubbo, so we're 10k out, and we get people go, I'm not going out to that traditional owner's property because they found dead bodies out there. Too. Okay? Now, the main street of Dubbo, there's Brisbane Street and Macquarie Street, and then they built other streets that way. And they took 29 trees from scattered around the main few blocks of Dubbo, and each tree represented a prominent person in our ancestry, because it was a carved tree. So when you take the bark off, you've got a coolerman, right, to carry things in. If you carve a design in the wood, then that's a carved tree that represents a burial. But if you just take the bark off it, it's a scarred tree, and the bark will grow back. And now we're getting a lot of people in Australia going, we need someone to come and have a look at this and tell us the difference. And you can tell the difference. A scarred tree isn't carved, but a carved tree is scarred. And every symbol or design in every carving is different. And we get those 28 trees, we fought for it, and we're getting them back to our property.
Wow. Congratulations.
As soon as we get the money to build the building, they're coming back to us. And council tried to get them back. And I went and I said, no, you are not getting them trees. You didn't want them when you built the town, you don't want them now. You only want them to so you can get people to pay to look at them.
Yeah.
We want to care for them, traditionally, appropriately. You're not getting them. And they just ignored us, so we ended up writing a letter to the Australian Museum, where the trees are, been 100 years there. They said, okay, we're not dealing with Dubbo Regional Council anymore, we're dealing with you, the traditional owners. The trees are ready to go, let us know when you've got the building ready.
Congratulations.
We're still fighting, but we've got the land now, and we're working towards the building.
Good. Well, best of luck with that. Thank you for everything you've shared with us today. This has been a really, really enriching and important and meaningful conversation.
Felt like a short chat.
Yeah, it was a good short chat. We'll keep doing this. We'll have you back on long distance. We do the podcast often. So, and this will be a special episode. We can potentially make some course materials and share it with people, get some good footage from the clips of the didgeridoo and whatnot. So I'm excited to work with you on all of that. And
me too.
Keep doing things together, yeah.
I just love educating people.
Thank you for teaching us, yeah.
Yay.
All right, everyone, thanks for listening. Keep an eye out, interworld.org. We'll post updates about all of this, and lewisburns.com, and get some art, get some didgeridoos from Lewis, and we'll see you all next time. Peace.